Welcome to Mystical Messages. I am Hilary Harley, your podcast host. I am a soul guide and astrologer. Mystical Messages is your podcast gateway to discover and learn about the realm beyond the veil, including all things intuitive, metaphysical, and the healing arts. To learn more about my work or to book a session with me, please visit hilaryharley.com. If you would like to read my monthly forecast, you may find the full written transcript for all astrology episodes on my website. That way, if you hear something and want to re-listen to a forecast or check a date of a cosmic event, you may find it on the written monthly forecast on hilaryharley.com. Today, I am so delighted to have my very special guest, Veronica Drake, join me to understand more about mediumship, spiritual guidance, and intuition. Her website is Veronica Drake, all one word, veronicadrake.com. And Drake is spelled D-R-A-K-E, veronicadrake.com. So welcome, V. Thank you so much for joining me.
I am so excited to be here. I feel like there's genuinely a soul connection here, a soul sister thing going on. So I'm super excited.
Yes. And I am delighted to let our audience know that my ancestors come from part of the country, Eastern Pennsylvania, where you now live. So there definitely is something going on there ancestrally as well as spiritually and soulfully. So Veronica, you are a spiritual teacher and psychic medium. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and what led you to your healing practice. What first drew you to this modality?
I really wish I had some sort of fantastical ancestral story where it was passed down through the years. But the reality is I didn't meet this energy until I was probably mid to early 30s. And I unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, met them as I was trying to exit this world. I had made some really crappy decisions in my life. I had hurt people. You know what they say, hurt people hurt people. And I was checking out. And as I was about to careen my car into the side of a bridge, I was met with an angelic presence or presences. Is that a word?
I think so. Yeah.
It is now. My car actually filled up. It was so full that I felt like I had to crunch my body together so that I could fit into the car. It was just this feeling that I'd never felt prior to that. And I felt my foot become lifted off of the accelerator and the car got so warm. It was November 1996. And I just heard, "We've got you. You're not going anywhere." And I was shocked, to say the least.
Wild.
I had no experience with anything. Well, that's a lie, because prior to that, the only experience I had, I say the only experience I had, was in 1987. I lost my beloved grandfather and I was devastated. I was raised with him and I was lying on my couch and just really in my misery. I was 6 months pregnant with my second son. And I was just calling out for him, just sobbing uncontrollably.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking. I mean, in every sense of the word. And he appeared at the
Wow.
right. Like he stood there in army uniform, which I had never seen before. And he had this very distinct hat on, like they wore in the army. And I heard him and he said to me, "I'm okay. I want you to know I'm okay. Take care of that little boy inside of you."
Oh, wow.
At the time, I didn't know I was having a little boy.
Oh, he gave away. The secret.
But that was my first experience in 87. And then nothing until 96. Life was busy and
Right. Taking care of little ones for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Wow.
that was it.
So you're in the car and you have this experience, and afterward, you obviously went on to tell the tale and live a beautiful life and become an incredible healer. I mean, can you just talk about some of what other modalities you work with?
Mhm. I wish I could say that after that experience in 96, beautiful light shot out my hands and, the whole woo, I wish I could say that, but I'm a thick, slow learner.
Human beings are V. And I'm calling you V. Your name is
Yes.
Veronica, but you go by V.
Yes, all my friends call me V. And so, 96, I actually jumped on, not that there's anything wrong with this, the Bible thumping train. Like I thought, okay, the way to cultivate this gift is to really know the Holy Spirit. And that's part of it.
Right.
But
right, for sure.
I did it to the exclusion of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I tamped down the what I now refer to as the paranormal, which is anything that isn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked that path, and lo and behold, down I went again.
Really? Wow. So this has been an incredible journey.
It really has, just a series of awakenings. That there's a big word we all know, ascensions, those kind of key words in this development.
But it's trial and error.
It really is. And that's so important for people to understand, because so many times people tell their story, write their story, and it's sometimes overly edited. You're getting the unedited, raw version of crap happens.
That's why I love you. Because no, you're the real deal, and it's raw and unfiltered and unedited, and you tell it like it is. So
that happened in my early 40s. My first marriage fell apart. It had been falling apart for many, many, many years. But for the first time at age 41, I found myself alone. I'd never lived alone. And I was scared because I felt alone in a physical sense. I'd never felt alone in a physical sense. I'd always felt alone in an emotional sense. But here I was, there was nobody to talk to. Like there was nobody in my space, really. And so I turned inward for the first time in a serious way, probably around age 41. And I thought to myself, there's got to be more. And I find also, Hilary, maybe you find this also, the person that's drawn to me usually walked a similar path to mine. She's usually waking up to something more. She doesn't know what it is.
Right.
I began to question everything, like really seriously. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm checking all the boxes that I was told to check. Get a good job, make decent money.
Get married, have children.
Have children, have benefits. God forbid you go to the ER with, I'm checking all the boxes, right? And I was miserable. I was manifesting diseases in my body because I was not in full expression of self.
Right.
And so I did what everybody should do. I went to life coaching school. I became a life coach. Kind of new at the time, like there wasn't a lot around it.
I was going to say that was back in the day,
It was back in the day. And so I became a life coach, and the lingo is become a life coach, make $150 an hour. Da, 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 da. So I followed that path, and well, again, down I went. And as I came out of that spiral, mid 40s, I started to know things. I had always known things about people, but I really started to hone in. And more importantly than that, I knew things about myself.
Wisdom, right? Carl Jung, I believe, says Life really doesn't begin, and definitely wisdom does not begin until 40, because everything prior to 40 is learning and trial and error and experimentation.
Absolutely. And really just I wouldn't have been ready for any of this.
Right.
I wouldn't have been, There's something to be said for being a crone. I know you and I talked about
Yes.
the
And
crone
it's,
energy.
yeah, really. And for anybody listening who doesn't know, crone, CRONE, means wise woman or wise elder. It can be masculine as well, wise man.
Mhm.
And it's somebody that has learned through experience.
Yeah. And I think really the experience is the best teacher. And so I started to just know things. To my husband, my current husband and I went to the beach in South Carolina, and I'm from Pennsylvania. And this girl was walking down the beach. And I started to tell a story about this girl. He's like, "What are you, crazy? We don't know anyone here." And I said, and I went on and on. And I said, "And she's going to stop here." And he looked at me and he said, "That's ridiculous." Sure enough, she walked up, she stopped. Just as
That's wild.
right, just as I had seen it. And she starts talking to me and she's confirming the story I just told to my husband. Well, I started to know names of the people in her life, where she worked, what she did. And she stood there and she goes, "Oh my God, you're a psychic." And I went, "What? No, psychic.
Wow.
There's some random stranger titled me."
Mhm. And it's interesting that it was on the beach by the water, the ocean in particular, because we know that water is a conductor and the ocean is as big as it gets. So you're having this heart and mind and spiritual opening. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is incredible.
absolutely. And I was just astounded with that. And from that moment on, I got every oracle deck known to
Mhm.
man, I think, because I couldn't, how like when you want to learn something and just can't get enough and you're going deep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I went through that in my early days as well. And it was before the internet. I'm really dating myself, but there was a bookstore, one in particular. I mean, there are several, but there was one in particular in Cambridge. I was living in Boston at the time, and I might as well have moved in because I was over there at least once a week and buying. I mean, my husband at the time was like, should we slow down on the book buying because it was.
Absolutely. Well, a sobering moment for me was when I was telling my story with my live audience. And I said, "And you remember the Sony Walkmans and the cassettes?" And they were like, "What? Sony what?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
I don't like an iPod, but not as good.
So that was kind of like, all right, okay, your journey really did happen prior to the internet.
Yes. Yes.
But
So
yeah,
we've been at this a while.
a couple of years. Yeah, a couple.
So how did you begin seeing clients? I mean, how did you make the leap from, okay, I am doing this and maybe I need to have, I know when before we started this podcast, we were talking about what you call yourself, and it's a spiritual teacher medium, psychic medium, but you also said several other things that really resonate. Can you just elaborate on that?
I had to get really clear about why I existed in this lifetime, because one of the things I can do very quickly is see past lives for people, not in the cheesy circusy kind of way. "Oh, you were Madame Tussauds," and whatever. I see
Right.
it as it's relevant to this moment. And so I had known that I had come into this life to really be a healer. And that word to me is overused and perhaps misunderstood a lot of times.
And misused.
And misused, absolutely. And so as a healer, my first obligation was to heal myself. And we are
Mhm.
the wounded healers, right? We are
Correct.
in the
Yes.
trenches, we are helping. And so I had started to understand that I needed to build my confidence. I needed to continue to develop my intuition and explore it and understand it. And only after doing those things, I could dance in the process of discovering my soul's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
those three things, confidence building, development of intuition, and ultimately discovering the soul's purpose. This is why I exist on this planet, to help other people do that.
That is beautifully and very concisely said, because it seems so mysterious,
Mhm.
but when you present it as this very or not ordinary, but available process that is accessible to anybody, really, and how what your journey is and how it unfolded for you.
Absolutely. And I really do believe with all of my heart, this isn't exclusive. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that we are wired with. This is our natural mechanism.
Yep.
I teach people that, we have our five senses, sight, seeing, and all of that to navigate the physical, right? So what navigates the soul? Well, that's what we would know as the clairs, right?
Yes.
The language
And
of souls.
And just for our audience, run through what those clairs are. Kathy Ripley Green and I did a whole episode just on the clairs, and Kathy Ripley Green, for those listening, is how I know Veronica. She introduced us. So remind us what the, yeah, yes, yes, she is also very talented.
Yeah. So think of it like this. We have a clair, right? And it's clear, right? A clear sense of all of the five senses also equate to the soul senses. So we have clear seeing, the soul can clearly see, right? Clairvoyance. We have clear sentience, clear knowing. Like they all just think of everything you can do as a human and then
Mm-hmm.
some translates to the clairs over here. And clear is just a word, it means clear, clear. So the soul, when I communicate soul to soul, and I see things in the spirit world, and they say clairvoyance, I can see like my grandfather standing at the foot of my bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at the
Mm-hmm.
foot of my couch. So each clair has a purpose on the soul side. And we can see things, feel things, hear things, know things, taste things, smell things. When I do a reading for people, I will often, if they were heavy smokers, it's inevitable. I will smell smoke. Now, me,
Really
I am
interesting.
allergic to cigarette smoke. So a lot of times when this smoke comes in, you'll see, I'll do this. I'm itching my nose, but I'll get an itchy nose. I've even sneezed. When I get somebody who has a disease going on in their body, I will physically, for the moment, feel the pain in my own body where their physical dis-ease is happening. I don't carry it because I'm clear to cleanse and do all of that and remove.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I understand and know to work with the clairs.
So, do you consider yourself as one of your gifts? I mean, this is multi-talented. We're talking about it. It goes into past lives, which some would call the Akashic records. You just touched on what would be called medical mediumship. Do people come to you for that?
This may be the human part of me that shies away from speaking that. I take what I do obviously very, very seriously. I'm very quick to educate people before they work with me on free will and taking responsibility for themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing that.
there's a lot that goes on in a reading, and you never know who's walking in and what they're carrying until I can honestly get an assessment energetically of them, which is, I know I'm digressing here, but the first thing I do, I get an overall energetic assessment. I do what I call profiling you. I will dive deep into your energy. I'll look in the nooks and crannies of your life. If there's stuff to be found, I will find it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do anything with it other than hold a neutral space of awareness.
Right. Right.
Because my responsibility as the reader and the conduit, I need to know completely what I'm working with. I have seen psychosis. I've diagnosed physical disease, but spirit never has it come out of my mouth in a way that's alarming.
That is very helpful to know for people listening that think that there's something or know that there's something going on physically, mentally, spiritually, but don't know quite what it is.
And so medically, when you come to me, I'll just give you a quick overview of how it works for me. I will scan the body from head to toe, and it shows up like infrared for me, or sometimes it's there's a gradient gray, like from light to dark sometimes that I
Mm-hmm.
see, and I'll hone in on that, and I will specify. I am not a doctor. I am telling you there's something there. Now, we need to explore, is it energy or is it a physicality? Is
Right.
it belong to the energetic body and the physical body, or just the energetic body?
Right.
We walk through that, and when we go, I'm really proud to say that I've helped people head off some serious diseases by getting early intervention.
Oh, that is a blessing. So they come to you sensing something is off, or they come to you for a general reading, and this
Yeah.
comes up as part of it.
Mhm. And there was one woman, and I could see a mass in her breast. And, obviously, you have to have discretion. And as I said, spirit's very gentle. Spirit will never scare you. Spirit's never going to go, it's
Right.
not going to happen.
Right.
And as I'm scanning her, we're casually, because when people work with me, it's conversational. It's like this. It's like two besties sitting together.
Yep.
I channel very quickly. I even have my coffee. We're having coffee. And I'll say to her, geez, when's the last time you had your mammogram?
Oh,
You're
perfect.
really overdue. Oh, I don't believe in me. Listen, you need to get a mammogram. It's
Right.
just the way
Right.
it is,
Right. Right.
protocol for a reason. And inevitably she'll write back and she'll say, geez whiz, it was a fatty tumor, but wake up call.
Right.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. That is so helpful and a very wonderful reminder that spirit is not going to rock and sock with alarm bells. It's going to be very gentle, as you said. So you've built quite a practice. Can we please talk about how people can reach you? I mean, obviously, veronicadrake.com, but you're doing YouTube and lots of different channels to access you.
I say this, I'm Googleable, right? I'm
Yeah,
Googleable.
for,
Uh,
for
yeah.
sure.
I really feel like, coming out, so to speak, a spirit has just led me to amazing people like yourself who have amassed an audience of their own and who are willing to share. And this is what we do for each other, right?
Right.
We support each other and we bring forward the light on each other. And I've been so blessed to have that opportunity. So I'm kind of a little bit everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. So yeah.
So YouTube, you have quite a following.
Facebook, yes, I do.
And
I
Instagram.
Instagram, all the usual suspects. I try to put out YouTube videos that are insightful and helpful. I do these divine downloads. They're on my website. You can register. They're free. And every week, every Monday, a new download comes out. It's just kind of me sitting with spirit, getting the download, putting it in print, and sending it out to readers and saying, here, use your free will and interpretation. This is the message. It may not fit for you, or if it resonates with you, pick it apart, gnaw on it, see what comes out of it. I'm all about empowering.
Right. And let's talk about that because part of what you do is harkening back to your coaching days, but you've integrated that seamlessly, it seems, with empowering women in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do people come to you? Do clients come to you as part of that ongoing work?
Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily advertise this, but if you've established a relationship with me, and meaning you've had 2 or 3 readings with me, and you really are understanding the depth of the work that's being unfolded within you, I will offer sessions. I don't randomly put them out there because I really want to make sure that you're ready for it. And
Right.
so
Right.
it's kind of like they pick me, I pick them, but I do some spiritual direction and spiritual coaching, and that may change. I may put out more of a formal, call
like
for that.
mentorship types
Yeah,
of.
absolutely. That's probably on the horizon. Being a business owner has really stretched me in ways I never thought possible. Uh,
Yes, for those of us, I won't speak for you, but math was not my forte, and I was not a business major.
no, listen, you know how I started my business? No kidding, Hilary. A yellow legal pad and a pen and an idea.
That's how many great ideas were born on napkins.
I'm telling you, girl. And listen, I have the credit card debt to prove that I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So what do you consider the strangest response after telling somebody that you're a spiritual advisor and teacher? I mean, you're going to the backyard barbecue, you're at your cousin's wedding,
Yeah.
and you get into talking to somebody, because this is a lot of what the basis of my podcast in general, in particular with the guests I have on, is normalizing. We're all spiritual beings. We're souls having an earthly experience. And those who are awakening to the path, which is happening en masse right now. I mean, it's just, people are, and it can be very concerning. It can feel like you're mentally ill. And so I just want people to understand that you too are intuitive. And so when you've been in a social situation or in the grocery store, what do you do for work?
Well, that's really funny because I have no filter. You've probably noticed.
It's a blessing.
So I'm all about, sharing it. But in the beginning, my husband was the head of a Christian organization. And I was like, do I put a flashing neon psychic sign on the lawn? No.
Wow.
Do that.
Wow.
So it was kind of uncomfortable because I was in the closet. Right. I was like, oh, this is what and I tried to prettify it and normalize it with other words, right? Like, oh, call me something else. And then when I decided that, geez whiz, that doesn't work, you got to be who you are. Your name's Veronica. We're not going to call you Sue. It's confusing. So I've got some really good stories, as you can imagine, but this is one of the best stories. I feel like you have to come clean, right? You have to, with the universe, with all of life, like you have to be honest, right?
Name it and claim it, baby.
Totally. I invite the priest over. My husband's very Catholic. So the priest comes over. My husband's like, no, we're going to have dinner. Don't, and I'm like, yeah,
act normal.
Yeah. So the priest comes over and, we're talking after dinner and, having coffee and he says, so what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I'm a spiritual teacher. And my husband's like sitting in the corner and he's like, my husband nods because my husband sees it. He knows the validity of this work. I mean, and he's a hardcore Catholic, right? He's like, he's nodding his head. He goes, like, not that I was looking for his permission, but he's like, you got this.
It's okay. Right.
Yeah. And so I said to the priest, I said, I just know things about people. I can look at them. I can get a sense of them. I know things, not predictive in nature, and I explained it to him. I didn't use a word. And he looks at me and he says, well, that's your gift from God. And all of a sudden it was like, what did it, and so I said, and then I went into the whole, the psychic word and what it does and the connotations and and we had that nice conversation about the word.
That's beautiful.
Word. So that was one experience. Now, on the opposite end of that, I got very friendly with a group of nuns. Love the sisters, right? They're funny. They're like me and you, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I thought, because me and you, Hilary, Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm not a nun. Uh,
No, I had not in this life. I have not been.
so I'm talking to the sisters, and the one sister, the youngest sister, I'm telling her what I do, just what I said to the priest. And she calls I don't know, I'll call her the head nun. I mean, no disrespect. I just can't think of what the mother.
Oh, the mother superior.
Yeah. She calls her over and and the mother superior, are you ready? Wants to get an exorcism for me.
Oh, whoa.
I went, whoa, slow down. She's like going like on and on about the exorcism and the all this. And I said, you know what? That's enough.
I'm out.
I shut her down in a respectful way. I shut her down. I walked away. So those were two experiences. I recently went to a networking event, which I'd never networked because I thought I didn't have a place. I thought I didn't fit in with other networkers. So I went to a networking place and I stood up and I said, you got to do your little spiel. And I said, I'm a spiritual teacher. And something nudged me on the back and said, tell him. And a psychic medium. The room went completely silent.
Oh,
the
geez.
went as wide as could be. And they were like, oh my God, I want to talk to you. Like right.
It's so like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So there's a spectrum, but we're all conditioned. We all have a narrative around everything.
Yes, for sure. And I really appreciate your story about the church. I was not raised Catholic, but all religions come with some sort of flavoring or programming about intuitive gifts. And I really appreciate the completely different stories between the priests and the nuns because it is not one or the other. It is both. Right. It's
exactly.
It's who you are. And we're born into these gifts, and some people develop them very early on. Some people develop them later in life. It really doesn't, it's all according to divine timing. So on that wavelength, what is the greatest misconception about what you do?
I often say that I'm not a carnival worker. Contrary to what everyone might think, I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot tell you the winning lottery numbers. I don't know if your baby daddy's coming back. No, I don't. I call it baby mama drama. Does he love me? And listen, I say this lightheartedly with the complete respect and understanding that everybody carries a heavy burden. But the truth is, I'm just a normal human being who I can't tell you if the choices you've made to call the men that you've called into your life will change if you're not willing to change it.
Exactly.
So that's a big misconception, people, and the idea that, we are separate from one another. People look at they get lost in their pain. And all they can see is their own pain, when in reality, the person standing next to you in the grocery line is in just the same amount of pain. He calls it different. He has a different story, a different label for it. But we're all dragging something. Why not just be kind?
Yes, kindness is in very short supply. And I would also add humor. I mean, it seems like our sense of humor lately has gone out the window, and we really need to get back in touch with it and let things roll off of our shoulders. Do you recall the first time you treated or practiced on a client, and what was that like for you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you opened your doors and said, I am Veronica Drake.
Yeah. A couple of people come to mind with that opening. And it's funny because I still, as long as I've been doing this and as the thousands of readings I've done, I still am in awe of myself. And I don't mean that I always go like,
Yeah.
I'll say, oh, this is here and this here. And I'll go, oh my God, that's good. Like it's like I'm in awe of spirit talking. So the first woman was really, she was just such a gracious soul. She was so lost. And she came to me. And by the way, back in the day, I was charging $25 an hour because,
Yeah. That's what we did.
Yeah, it's what we did. And so she booked 4 sessions with me. And I thought, oh my God,
Right.
And I went, okay, V, you need to really buckle down. Well, what ended up happening with this woman as a result of her 4 sessions, she left a very abusive situation.
Oh.
And I was just like, she said to me later, after all this had transpired, she said, you don't realize how powerful of a gift you have. It touched every cell in my body.
Oh my heavens.
And I was
wow.
This is big work. You need to take this work really seriously, V, because I'm all about the humor and the fun. And you can still have humor and fun with this because when spirit works with me, spirit knows who we are. I'm not going to be stoic and put your button up suit on and I'm not going to be that person.
Yep.
So she said to me, I couldn't have, she had this history and of going to psychic mediums repeatedly, looking for somebody to tell her what she wanted to hear. And as a result, she heard what she wanted to hear. You're not going to hear what you want to hear from me. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. But you're going to say it again in a way that is gentle and soul is speaking through you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Think about anything you would associate with the soul. I would, soul would only speak in love.
Right. Right. And I have found in my experience that when spirit really wants to get its message across, it's not working through a psychic medium. It's going to hit you in the head with a 2x4, outside of you going to a psychic medium or an astrologer or any kind of metaphysical healing arts person.
What I have found over and over again, inevitably what I'm doing is validating what you already know.
Mm-hmm.
You said it, you know it. And, I think, Hilary, in the work you do, the moon and the stars are the stars. They're aligned the way they're aligned. And sometimes there's messages in there that aren't cheerful and rosy and, balloons and cakes. And you just know how to present it, right? We're given that.
Yes. And the delivery is incredibly important because you have to, as the marketers and branders and advertisers would say, you have to know your audience and gauge. And that is where intuition on our part really comes in. What has been your most favorite part of your job? Is it something like what you just described, where a woman leaves an abusive situation? I mean, that's incredibly validating for you that, I am really on the right train here.
I feel like I could cry because there's so many amazing things that have happened. And one of the most amazing, and obviously I can't use names, but there was a woman and she worked with me casually at first, and she would come in. I'll just call her Carol. That's not her real name. And Carol would come to her sessions and she'd book like 3-4 sessions over a 2-month period, right? So we were more coaching and spiritual direction. And I had read into Carol right away, and I had felt sinister, evil, like not Carol, but Carol was living with. And
around her.
I had profiled this person. I had honed in on Carol did not tell me anything about this person. Fast forward, this person was one of those people that you might see on a documentary, weird stuff in the shed kind of person.
Wow.
And so I could pick up on this, and in a non-alarming way, Spirit was nudging me to nudge Carol to get out while she could. I mean, this person, her spouse, partner, was leaving at night saying he was going to work when in fact he wasn't going to work.
Oh my heavens.
He was stalking, trolling, whatever you want to call it. And Carol sensed something, but she needed validation. And so it was a very fine line for me to walk, because remember, in any given moment, she's hinging on everything I'm saying. And perhaps ready to jump based on what I'm saying. I would never say, make this choice. As it turned out, after many sessions together, Carol got out. She opted to leave. And in the nick of time, Carol got out with her life. And
wow.
we closed the door. They're still trying to put evidence together with this person, but she's out. He stalked her after she left, but she's safe. I recently heard from her. This was years ago, and I recently heard from her. She popped into my mind again, and she said, I just wanted to drop you a line again, and after all these years, and tell you I'm happy. I'm this, all of life.
Oh.
I was like, that's amazing. The other part of this that's big for me, and probably this is what really pulls at my heart, when I can reunite mothers with their crossed over children.
That's a very challenging one. Yeah.
And really, I'm an evidential medium, so I won't just say, oh, Johnny loves you. And he's, I give you the specifics. I know when he died, I know what was going on. I can give you validation by evidence. And so I'm really pulled to work with mostly mothers who've lost their children. So that's, I've also worked with the police on murder case. So,
oh, wow.
That's been fascinating. Yeah.
That would be really fascinating. So that the word got out that you were gifted and the police detectives contacted you.
I had a client that was a detective, and he said to me, listen, are you up for this? And I said, I don't know. I never did it before, but hey, we'll see. We'll give it a shot, right? So I go on Skype back in the day when there was Skype, right?
Yep.
What, unbeknownst to me, off camera, there was a room of skeptics. My friend who introduced me was very into this, very understood, right? The widow was in the room. I saw the murder.
Wow.
I knew nothing. I went in cold. I could see it play out. Dripping wet. I got a pain in my neck. He was shot in the neck as he was stepping out of the shower. I saw, right? I saw the name of the person they had as the suspect. I gave the name. This is where it differs from TV. I couldn't find the gun. And without finding the gun, that doesn't consider it solved. I validated everything they were doing, but I couldn't find the gun. So that was life-changing for me.
That's incredible. That actually is just, I can't thank you enough for doing this invaluable work, because it just helps put the pieces of the puzzles together, and especially the work that you do with grieving mothers or parents with lost family members, especially children. So are there any special books, resources, tools, if you were just starting out on this journey and somebody came to you and said, were there specific classes or pivotal books that you read? Teachers?
I'll say this, and this is only in hindsight, obviously, that we know this. Definitely develop self. Personal development is key to this work. Knowing who you are, spiritual development. And I'll tell you, the first book I cut my teeth on, and and I have it. It's dog-eared, it's yellowed, it's old.
well loved.
Yeah, it's well loved. It's called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Right. And that was in the 90s that I got that book. And I thought, well, what's the correlation to psychic medium work? And the reality is it's self-development. It's spiritual awareness. I now teach mediumship 101 for beginners. I'm launching actually my first class tonight. And
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations.
thank you. People have said to me for years, why don't you teach? And you know what, Hilary, the block was, I don't know how to teach. This is just normal. You just do this. You wake up and you do it. So for me to put a curriculum together, it was like, but anyway, number one piece of advice I would give anyone is find a reputable person, teacher that you resonate with, that allows you the grace and the space to explore and not put you in a box, because so many people are willing to say, it's this way, it's this way, it's this way. When I teach, I say, find the truth that fits for you within this context of, unity, love, oneness, not all truth. The truth is subjective, right? What's true for me may not be true for you, but there's one universal truth, and that's oneness.
That is incredibly well said. Thank you, because I think we've all had the experience of having teachers who are not doing it for the highest and best purposes. And that is something that is part of, I just want to remind those who are beginning this journey, it's like a test or an exam in real time when you have those teachers who aren't quite, they need the love, and it's all about their glorification and their ego stroke. So it's what you said in terms of finding teachers that you really resonate with and making it your own is so important. So we're coming to the end of our time, and I could talk to you for days and days, but we do have to wrap it up. My last question that I always ask for guests is, if you could change the world for better in some way, how would you change it?
Well, I think I would just give more love. And in fact, I'll give you a little glimpse of what Spirit has laid on my heart. Coming soon will be the Lollipop Project. And the Lollipop Project is really near and dear to my heart. It was born from Spirit. And it really is just taking a lollipop, passing it on with a note of love and hope and promise, and just attaching it and moving the sweetness through the world, one lollipop at a time. So
that is beautiful.
So watch for that. Watch for the lollipop in your neighborhood.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for launching that and sharing that. My guest is and has been Veronica Drake, spiritual teacher, psychic medium. You may reach her and learn from her extraordinary talents, veronicadrake.com. And thank you so much for joining me today. That brings us to the end of this episode of Mystical Messages. To learn more about my work or to book a session with me, please visit hilaryharley.com. If you would like to read my monthly forecast to check dates of planetary events and cycles, you may find the full transcript for all astrology episodes on my website. Thank you for listening again today, and please join me for my next episode when I will bring you my astrology forecast for the month ahead. I wish you many blessings as you journey forward.